This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Hello and welcome to Voices Unhindered. I'm Crystal Jenkinson. On this show, I give a unique perspective and listening ear to voices that often go unheard. I want everyone to know that you are not alone and that your voice and story matters. On today's show, I speak to Tait, pastor of Destiny Church Christchurch and the leader of Man Up in the South Island. Do you mind sharing about your upbringing?
I was brought up in Rotorua, pretty much like a once were warriors sort of upbringing, where it was domestic violence and alcohol and before moving to Auckland. So a lot of times I feel like it's a broken record, the domestic violence and dad beating mum and then they ended up divorcing and all that.
Why did you go to Auckland?
We went to do an internship with the church. So once I became part of the church, once I got saved in Rotorua, and then went to Auckland for a couple of years to do an internship.
And how did you become a Christian and part of Destiny Church?
I never been to church, I never prayed, I never read the Bible, wasn't seeking or looking for God in any way, shape or form, wasn't rock bottom, nothing tragic as such happened. One day at home I woke up early as I normally do to go to work, and the best way to put it is I had a divine encounter with God. He came to my house and took me to his house, and I remember the words internally that were spoken that I heard were, "You're mine, you belong to me." And then from there I went to, that was a Friday, and then from there I went to church Sunday, which was Lake City Church, which is Destiny Church now, and the rest is history, I guess.
Could you explain more about your divine encounter? Like, was there anything that happened as well, or just like you just heard it in a voice?
Yeah, just an internal voice. It wasn't like the marriage was on the rocks, or wasn't like there was a tragedy happening in my life. I wasn't rock bottom, I wasn't searching or crying out for God. That's the best way I can explain it, and just sort of out of the blue because, like I said, I never read the Bible, never been to church, never prayed, never wanted to. Didn't want anything to do with any of that stuff. Kind of look at it like there's 5 billion people on the planet, and for whatever reason God came to my house, and then Sunday I went to his house being church. So that was 29 years ago. In that 29 years, I've missed church once because I was in hospital with a knee op, not because it's a legalistic thing or you have to. It's because I love church.
And did this encounter happen before you became a part of Destiny Church?
Yeah, that was before. Like I say, I never been to church, never prayed, never read the Bible, never heard a preacher. And that happened. I remember it being the Friday because I went to work and I was saying to people, I'm going to go to church Sunday, and they said to me, well, you always, not always, but you run down the church and Christians. And I said, oh, well, I couldn't explain it to them like I can now. I knew what happened, but I thought if I say something, they'll think I'm really weird. The church was called Lake City Church, but we changed our name to Destiny Church.
And how did you meet Brian Tamaki?
At church that Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So he was the pastor. Yes, I had a few friends and family that were going there, who, unbeknown to me at the time, found out later, they were praying for me.
Did you have any other supernatural encounters?
Obviously, lives change, which is pretty supernatural.
And how did you become a pastor in Destiny Church?
That was the last thing I wanted to be. Like, if you had known me before getting saved and going to church, I was very shy. I couldn't speak.
Whoa.
Very, very shy. I mean, when I used to play rugby and I became the captain, I had to drink alcohol to be able to say a few words. My family and friends who knew me, they knew that I didn't talk much. I was very shy. But how did I become a pastor? Well, like I said, it was the last thing I thought about, but it's a call. So once you know the call, you just had to obey it, follow it, but at the same time die to it.
What do you mean die to it?
So I didn't make it about me, didn't get selfish and think that about my call and me and this is what God has called me to. And it wasn't hard. I had to lay it down. I never pushed it. I never promoted myself. I knew it, and then my pastor, who was Brian Tamaki, confirmed it. Went up to Auckland for 2 years from Rotorua to do an internship, and then after the 2 years, planted out to Whangarei to pastor the church in Whangarei. Sometimes something can become very selfish and you put it before God and people. So if you put it before God and people, then it's going to be more destructive than constructive. You just have to decide in your heart that if this is the core, and it is, but even if it doesn't happen, yet will I love God, yet will I go to church, yet will I serve Him.
Don't make it an idol like your call.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what do you believe are some challenges facing the Christian church in New Zealand?
For me, from what I've seen, the Christian church just won't get out of its four walls. We as a church, me personally, as a man, as a pastor, as a leader, as a husband, father, grandfather, I believe in the power of prayer, but I also believe in actually doing something. So I believe the modern church today is good at praying in four walls and good at worshipping and good at praising and good at hugging each other, but they've been absent when the battle really counts.
And you're not saying there's anything wrong with those things?
Praying, it's our foundation.
Yeah,
I love it. It's the air, our spiritual air we breathe. So those things are a given for me. If I look at someone like David, he prayed, but then when it come time to face Goliath and take him out, he took him out.
And what do you say to those Christian churches that think that your church is too political?
The good thing is I've had the opportunity to talk to people, to different Christians, and sometimes I can be a little gruff and a little rough. If you talk to someone who's Jewish, what do you think of Jesus and what do you know about him? The first thing they'll say is he's a political figure, and then they'll say he's a religious figure. So he was both. Political has always meant to be about morals in the people, and there's nobody with better morals, I believe, than Christians in the church, and nobody loves people more than we do. So we're supposed to be in that arena to bring about change to a country, not just along with prayer, serving, feed the poor, the hungry.
What is your church's vision for the future in Christchurch?
It's to impact the city for Christ. It's to see people come to know Him as their personal saviour. For me, for us, you can't separate Christ and the church. So in other words, when I met Him at home that day, the first place I wanted to go to was church. I didn't know scripturally that Jesus is the groom and the church is the bride. I didn't know scripturally that He is the head and the church is the body. So the two are inseparable. So if I say I love God, I love Jesus Christ, then I love His church, even though the church is imperfect and has a lot of faults. But just as He loves me unconditionally, I love the church unconditionally. The vision is obviously to get people to know Christ as their Lord and Saviour, get them planted in church, but it also goes outside of that because the church is the vehicle for the kingdom, but the kingdom is outside the four walls. So the kingdom is bringing change, godly change, to what needs change. So being able to make a stand and bring our country back to its roots, which is Christ. That's all a part of our bigger picture and our bigger vision. And I love our city. I love the name of our city, Christchurch. So I really believe in bringing our city back to Christ and then church.
And what do you say to those people who think that you're anti-trans?
No, I'm not. I got a sister who's a lesbian. I love her. She loves me. I'm not anti-trans. I'm not homophobic. Phobic means fear. I don't fear them. I'm not Islamophobic. I don't fear them. I just disagree. And unfortunately, we live in a society where if you disagree, they say it's hate.
Is there anything that you believe that you need to improve on as a pastor or leader?
My leadership, it's everywhere, to be honest. You can get better. My speaking, my listening, my patience.
Speaking? Do you mind expanding on that?
To be a better speaker, a better preacher, a better communicator, but to be an even better listener. So there's heaps. I mean,
have you ever had anyone say that you're mean?
Yeah, I tend to be at times a bit blunt. Social media is a funny thing because you can take everything wrong, easily take it wrong, but I've found when people meet me, it's a different story.
What would you say to those pastors within the Christian community who don't agree with your church's strongly political stance?
Well, we try to talk to them, we try to show them, we explain to them. It's one of those things that's gotten in the atmosphere. I don't know how and I don't know where from, that politics and religion shouldn't mix. I remember one day my mum saying that to me and I said, "Mum, who told you that? Where did that come from?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "Yeah, it's just in the atmosphere. It's just one of those accepted norms." I've said to different Christians and pastor, why not? That's the position of influence and power that we should be involved in, because praying and doing church on Sunday And this is what I've said to some of them. How's that going for us? Is our nation better? Has our nation come back to God? Are things better? How is that some of the stuff and the laws has made things even worse?
Have you and Brian Tamaki, your apostle, always agreed on everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when it comes to things that matter biblically, the vision of the church, politically, our stands, our marches, our protests, we have agreed. He might like the Chiefs and I like the Crusaders, We might disagree on that, but when it comes down to the root things that really matter, yeah, we agree.
If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking to Tait, the pastor of Destiny Church Christchurch and leader of Man Up in the South Island. How does Destiny Church create unity and inclusiveness for those who may have differing political or spiritual beliefs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, how do you, I'll start with unity. How do you create unity? You can get a bunch of people in a room, and Christians are good at this. They think because the more of us there is in the room, the more unity we got. Usually it's on the contrary. So unity has been about one mind, one thought, one accord, one vision, and it really comes back to this, and I've said this before too at different times and occasions, and people don't like it. You can't have unity without a leader. So Psalms talks about the anointing being poured on the head and flows down to the rest of the body, and there God commands a blessing. So God has always had leaders right through the Bible, right to today, and the leaders get the vision and the direction and the revelation from God, and the people have to trust. But a lot of times it's not even trust, because if you're hearing God for yourself, then it witnesses and you're like, yeah, that's right, that makes sense. So
you're not just like a blind sheep following the leader. Like you kind of know yourself if it's right or not, because you have the same
it witnesses in my heart, and I've got a conscience and I've got a relationship with God. I know the word, all that sort of stuff. So the key to unity is you have a leader, not a committee. You have a leader, not a board. So church is never meant to vote. I know where that's come from. It's never meant to have a board where they vote for a pastor, or they employ a pastor, or they put out an ad that says, we're looking for a pastor to employ. That's not biblical. Yeah. It's always been the head, the leader. He has other people around him. It could be pastors, elders. Most of the time, a good accountability is if a man's got a good wife and she's a good woman, and then you make decisions like, we're going left. Awesome. Yeah, I hear that witnesses with me. I know that's right. So we all go left. If I say we go left and you say, oh, no, I'm going right, then we ain't got unity. Well, one of the biggest problems...
And that's like in a marriage, eh?
Yeah, or two become one. Yeah, become a covenant. But the man still has his place and the woman still has her place. The head of woman is man, the head of man is Christ, and the head of Christ is God. So there's the order and the unity. So it's a beautiful thing.
Submission.
Yeah, and I mean that's a very twisted word by people. That submitting's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing when it's done right, healthy. I think Hebrews talks about obey and submit those who have rule over you. And that's New Testament. Part of the biggest problem in the church is we don't have unity because they won't follow a definitive, fruitful leader. Because everyone wants to do what's right in their own eyes. And I've got to submit myself to the police if I speed,
Yeah. Yes.
If I go to court, I've got to submit myself to the judge. Everyone walks in and stands. The judge walks in, all rise, everyone rises.
Is everyone welcome in your church?
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone is. People have messaged me saying, oh, I'm gay, can I come to your church? Of course you can. It's not my business what you are and what you do. I just go to church and preach the word.
And did they come?
No, they're lying. They weren't going to come. They were just mocking and lying and to see what I'd say.
Yeah, what would you say to those people who perceive you as hateful towards certain people group, especially trans and the rainbow community and minorities?
If I had a chance, I'd shout them a coffee and just talk, give them a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've found a lot of people who say that, and I say, well, let's have a coffee, let's catch up. Oh, no, you're bad, you're mean, you're violent. I've never been violent to anyone.
And then you say once they meet you, they change their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, generally, I mean, people meet me, it's a different story. And I think that's the same for everybody. People might say or think stuff about you and they don't know you, but guarantee you when they meet you, it's a different story.
Moving to Man Up. How does Man Up and Legacy benefit those struggling with generational trauma and addiction?
So the Man Up program was formulated maybe 8 to 10 years ago, but we kind of were doing Man Up in the church. And we just formulated it, took it outside of the four walls and opened it up to all men. So most of the men in Man Up here in Christchurch don't go to church. So it was obviously, not so obvious to some, birth come from a man, because there's no program without a person, there's no plan without a man who got it from God, and we formulated it around, well, as men, what do we think and what do we know are a lot of our issues? So we come up with things like, well, anger. Anger is an issue, violence, addictions, sexual perversion, that's a big issue. And it just goes on and on. So we formulated it, and the program itself, it's accepting, non-judgmental. The men, we encourage them if they want to open up, not harden up. And we've found when men actually talk, it starts to heal. And men don't talk. Generally, they don't talk. They hold the hurt and the, not literal cancer, but they hold the hurt and the cancer inside of them. But when they start to talk and they bring it out of darkness into light, you start to see healing and change. And I've seen it right before my face, the countenance of men changing as they're talking and crying and talking about, their past. And
because there's that culture that says like men shouldn't like talk, and it's like weak. It shows signs of weakness, when you cry and talk about your issues.
Oh, that's how I was raised. Don't talk or don't cry. If you talk and cry, you're weak. Be a man, all that sort of thing. But
do you think that's why you kind of grew up shy, like a little bit when you were little?
Yeah, that's a big part of the reason. I was very insecure, rejection, low self-esteem. So a lot of that is in most men, just on different levels. And then there's the low level where men live a so-called normal life.
Not just men.
Then there's the extremes.
And a lot of the issues that men face, do you think they are generational?
Yes,
and
absolutely. Yeah. So what walks in the fathers generally runs in the sons. So at home, things are caught more than taught. The generational curses have to be broken. And so for me, I've done that. So my children have not seen what I seen.
How did you break that? Do you mind explaining?
To be honest, it started that early morning with that divine encounter, a supernatural encounter with Christ.
Did it take away your insecurity then when you felt that?
It started to heal it.
Yeah.
It didn't happen overnight. Another saying in Man Up is we're under construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we give each other and ourselves room to grow, to trip up. We're there for each other. It's a brotherhood. So that transformational and breaking generational curses started when I had that divine encounter with Christ. And like anything, you gotta work on things. You gotta.
How did you know it was Christ that told you that?
I don't know. I thought.
If you'd never heard about him.
Oh, I heard of Jesus Christ. When I was younger, I used to watch on the movies every year. They used to have the Christmas story and the birth of Jesus and Easter. They used to have. They don't do that these days anymore on TV. That was always the Easter story, the birth and the death and the resurrection. So I'd heard of him like that, but I'd never read the Bible or been to church or heard a preacher. I don't know. I guess in every man and woman there's an inherent thing that's like a magnet that's trying to draw you back to God. And that's what happened to me. Yeah, and it makes me feel very special. Not arrogant.
Humbled.
Yeah, very, very humble,
When you weren't even seeking, eh?
No, I wasn't, like I say, I wasn't dying of cancer. The marriage wasn't on the rocks. I wasn't on rock bottom. I wasn't crying out. I wasn't...
Yeah, so how is Man Up and Legacy, how are they different from other programs that help people out of addictions? And what makes them unique?
To be honest, I actually don't know because I don't know too much about other programs. I know one thing: we're not government funded. Like any program, and I don't even like using the word program, but like any program, we would be about a 70% strike rate of positive change. Not everybody does. I mean, I'd be lying if I said 100% of men came to man up and they changed. Nah, different. I guess what's different is where and who it's come from.
Yeah.
That's the main
the source.
Yeah.
And it's also about choice. Say, like, if someone doesn't want to change or they're not ready to come out of their lifestyle, then...
Well, I always say to, whether it's the church or guys, I say you've got a superpower, and that superpower is the power to choose. At any given moment, it's up to you to choose. Right or wrong, good or bad, you have the final say. If I want to have a cigarette, I have the final say. If someone goes, oh, here, you want a cigarette? I have the final say, you know. Someone says, here, have a beer or whatever. I still have the final say. So I can't say, well, someone made me.
Yeah. Does it matter where you go when you know that you've struggled with something before?
I mean, if you're an alcoholic, don't go to a pub, you know.
Yeah.
If you're a druggie, don't hang around drug addicts. As iron sharpens iron, and bad company corrupts good character.
So when you had an encounter with Christ, how easily was it for you to break free from other people's perception of who you were in your past life?
Again, it was a process. It wasn't an immediate thing. Like when it come to giving up alcohol, I just stopped. And I had a really foul mouth swearing. I just stopped swearing. I stopped drinking.
Just overnight?
Yeah, those things I just dropped.
You didn't have the desire to go back to those things?
No, I didn't. Like I carried on playing rugby for a little while, and the rugby scene is full of alcohol. So when I carried on playing rugby, I'll give you an example. Like after one of our games, because I told the boys, you know, I was going to church and I'm not going to drink anymore. Usually after every game, I'd bring out 4 dozen bottles of beer back then, you know, and into our changing sheds. And then they had a bottle of Coke for me. So they went, oh, here you go, Derek, here's your Coke. Because they saw the change was genuine and they respected me enough for the person and the player and the man I was. So they had me a bottle of Coke. They didn't try and force me into, because they knew I wasn't fake, you know. Yeah. But, you know, and then over time, yeah, people's perception of me. I remember I went to the gym, and the gym I was going to in Rotorua, the girl called me a hypocrite. And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, oh, you're going to church now, but you used to do this, you used to drink. And I said, yeah, the key word is used to. I don't anymore. So.
Yeah. And your friends, like in your rugby team, they saw like who you were before when you used to drink and then who you were after.
Yeah.
And then they respected you for making that change.
Yeah, they did. They knew.
They saw it.
Knew what I was like. They knew who I was. And then they saw the change in me. Yeah. And I never tried to preach at them or force or bash them with the Bible. They just saw that I was different.
What would you like other people to know about you?
That I'm a man of God, that I love God and the church, but I think most people do know that. I think most people know. If they know me, they know who I am. They can ask if they want to know, if they want to know about me or who I am. I really believe in talking face to face. Yeah, that's the problem with social media and kids these days. I love that personal contact.
Was there anything else that you were set free from besides alcohol?
Rejection, insecurity, low self-esteem. But as for vices, I didn't do drugs. Cigarettes, when I was at high school, I had the odd puff. But if you're talking like vices as in addictions, probably alcohol, really.
Not violence?
No, I wasn't. In fact, I was probably, out of all my friends, and they'd be able to tell you this, I probably had the best temperament.
Were you quite afraid of your dad?
Yeah, respected him and feared him. My dad just had to give me a look, and that was it. I'd do it all, you know. He didn't have to ask me 3 or 4 times to, like, put the rubbish out or do something. He asked once, and the rare time if he asked again, he'd just look at me, and then I knew.
Thank you for listening to Voices Unhindered. It's great hearing from my listeners. Reach out with questions and comments through Insta or Facebook. Just search for Voices Unhindered. I'm interested to know what other topics and voices you'd like me to bring on the show. Join me every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. on Plains FM 96.9. You can find past episodes at plainsfm.org.nz and subscribe to Voices Unhindered on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to never miss an episode.